So it's no surprise to people who work at Buckingham Palace. They saw and witnessed all this here.
It is 100% clear that there is trouble in paradise and that the marriage is not long for this world. We know that Meghan has a long history of dumping those that have served their purpose. Everyone in Meghan Markle's world is expendable.
This also follows all the stories about her bullying staff over here in the UK, which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here.
Inevitable divorce will be a hellish car crash in slow motion for Prince Harry, who was naive and stupid enough to think that he would be, married to this woman for life. This woman who is famously narcissistic, social climbing, and ruthless. He thought they would be together forever. What a fool.
The only currency they have is trashing the royal family and the monarchy. And every time they try and do something else, nobody cares. No one cared about their podcast series. Nobody cared about the Polo series recently. Nobody cared about any of it.
What if one of the biggest royal moments of the decade was never real? That's the question exploding across headlines after a shocking leak from inside the palace. According to a royal medical insider, Meghan Markle may have never carried either of her children, not once. If that's true, this isn't just another tabloid frenzy. It's a direct hit to the very heart of the Sussex story, and it could unravel everything they've built since leaving the crown behind. The leak didn't come from a tabloid journalist or a fired staffer looking for a paycheck. It reportedly came from a medical professional.
Now, the king can end this feud, Harry's right, but not by shaking hands with this treacherous little weasel, but by stripping him and his wife of the royal titles that they love to use for commercial gain without doing any of the work.
One deeply embedded within the royal family's healthcare circle. This individual, whose identity is being protected for legal and safety reasons, claims that Meghan's pregnancies were staged, completely orchestrated. Photos, interviews, the public bump cradling, it was all, according to them, a performance, a production. And if that's even partially true, then the story of Meghan and Harry's children isn't just private. It's political. It's a scandal with the power to shake the monarchy's modern image from the ground up. Now, let's be real. Surrogacy rumors have floated around Meghan for years, from moon bump accusations to awkward photo sequences that critics swore defied the laws of pregnancy physics.
Every week, I'm genuinely surprised by what happens with the Sussexes. There's always something that happens and I think, well, I didn't see that coming. What on earth is Prince Harry doing in China, of all places?
The internet, as always, had opinions. But this isn't Reddit speculation. This is a claim supposedly coming from behind palace walls. And the timing is no accident. With the Sussexes pushing brand deals and launching lifestyle ventures, the authenticity of Meghan's motherhood has become their emotional currency. And when that currency gets questioned, everything gets shaky. Think about it. Meghan's pregnancies were a key part of their post-royal brand. The heartfelt interviews, the bump-focused photo shoots, the Netflix specials, they didn't just highlight motherhood, they centered it. They made her story relatable, inspirational, and profitable. That maternal glow helped launch archetypes. It gave her voice gravity on social issues. It humanized a couple often accused of being overly curated. And now, if those pregnancies weren't real in the way the public was led to believe, then what does that mean for everything else we were told?
The person who interacted professionally with her says, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations, rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better.
You'd think a rumor this massive would demand a response, but from Meghan, nothing. From Harry, radio silence. The same couple who leapt onto every interview sofa and podcast mic to defend their truth now refuse to even acknowledge the most scandalous accusation of their careers. And that silence, it's speaking volumes. Because the public has questions. Why not sue the leaker? Why not post the ultrasound, the hospital wristband, something to shut this down? The more they don't respond, the more people feel like they're watching an illusion finally flicker. Nobody's saying the children don't exist. That's not the issue. Archie and Lilibet are real. The real question is, how were they born? And more importantly, why lie about it? Because let's be clear, using a surrogate isn't scandalous anymore. It's normal. Celebrities from Kim Kardashian to Nicole Kidman have done it. No shame. But pretending you didn't, pretending you were pregnant twice when you weren't, that's where things start to feel manipulative. And that's why people are angry. There's one theory dominating the conversation, that this wasn't a personal decision, it was a strategic one.
A multi-millionaire who's raked in a fortune by regularly abusing his family and regurgitating private stories in books and TV shows while simultaneously lecturing the rest of us about not invading privacy.
A performance designed to protect a brand that thrives on authenticity, pain, and triumph. A pregnancy sells, a bump garners sympathy. A mother's story touches hearts. A surrogate? It's still valid, but it's not the same story. Not for book deals, not for streaming contracts, not for global sympathy. And if Harry knew about it, as some sources suggest, then the deception becomes even deeper. It's not just Meghan's lie, it's theirs, together. A coordinated media-savvy fabrication meant to rewrite their royal exit as a tear-streaked fairy tale. And here's where things get even more personal. People inside the palace, close friends, even royal aides have started whispering about Prince Harry, but not in the way you'd think. They're not angry, they're worried. He's isolated, cut off from his army friends, estranged from his brother, quietly detached from old anchors who used to keep him grounded. Those who've tried to reach him say the messages go nowhere. Calls don't get returned. One former friend said, he's surrounded, but totally alone. And when someone only listens to one voice,
the dysfunctional Duchess she says she runs businesses, the woman couldn't run a bath.
people start asking whether that's love or something more controlling. There are now unconfirmed but persistent rumors that senior royals are considering some kind of intervention, not to strip titles or make headlines, just to check in, to ask Harry if he's okay, to make sure he's still in there beneath the press statements and performative gestures. But every move is delicate. Meghan reportedly screens all contact. No message gets through unless she allows it. And even if the palace wanted to speak to Harry directly, insiders say they wouldn't even know how to reach him anymore. He's protected, or guarded. Now let's talk about what really makes the world turn. Contracts. Spotify's deal with the couple? Canceled. Netflix's interest? Cooling fast. Corporate sponsors aren't just spooked, they're quietly pulling out. Why? Because trust is the product. And if the Sussex brand was built on a version of parenthood that now looks like fiction, then the value of that brand is plummeting. Book publishers are having backroom meetings. Netflix is reportedly reviewing its unscripted agreements. Everyone's wondering, what else was faked? Even Meghan's staunchest defenders have gone quiet. Influencers who once posted daily praise haven't mentioned her in weeks. Activists who championed her voice have moved on.
Viewer discretion is advised. This clip contains weapons-grade hypocrisy. No, the world's biggest victims right now are the Duke and Duchess of Netflix. And don't take my word for it.
Public pages once brimming with Queen Meghan memes now sit untouched. Not because they've turned against her, but because they feel misled. If motherhood was used to gain empathy, and it turns out that narrative was curated to sell books, then even her biggest fans feel played. This isn't just personal anymore, it's political. Inside the palace, lawyers are now asking real questions about what royal privileges, if any, should be stripped. If deception occurred, can the children keep their titles? Can they remain in the line of succession? There's talk of reevaluating security funding, public roles, and charitable assignments, not to punish, but to preserve the integrity of the crown. Because if the public begins to believe that anyone can stage their way into royalty, then the institution itself loses all meaning. If Meghan and Harry lied about this, what else have they lied about? Were the racism allegations real? Was the mental health spiral exaggerated? Were family conversations twisted into convenient headlines? It's a dangerous line of thought, but once trust breaks, it breaks everything. Even the truth starts to look suspicious when it's been framed by fiction. And at the center of it all are two children, not because of who they are, but because of how they've been used. Their births, their milestones, their private moments, they've all been part of a media campaign. And if that campaign was based on a lie, what does that mean for their future? At this point, the audience has started walking out.
What on earth is Prince Harry doing in China, of all places?
Marries a Z-list US TV actress and he thinks he's safe in her hands?
And the spotlight is growing colder by the second. The story of Meghan and Harry was supposed to be about resilience, justice, love. But now it feels like something entirely different. A brand built on vulnerability that may have been scripted, a motherhood journey that might have been manufactured, and a couple that once promised honesty, now buried under layers of silence. So now the question is, do they finally speak? Do they release proof? Do they clear the air? Or do they just wait, hoping this fire burns out on its own? One thing's certain, the longer they wait, the more this looks like the greatest royal performance of our time. Comment below, do you believe the insider? Or is this all part of a bigger palace game? Hit subscribe, because what happens next might be the most shocking chapter yet.